2021 has been a very long year. And while it may feel like it has passed by in a flash, the hundreds of hours I've spent gaming this year would like to say otherwise. I've played a lot of games in 2021. I've played brand new titles like Bravely Default 2, Tales of Arise, the Diamond and Pearl remakes. But I've also enjoyed some older titles this year, such as Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep and Trails of Cold Steel. I've played mostly JRPGs now that I think about it, but that's not the point here. I've enjoyed a lot of games this year, new and old, but I'd say only one has truly stuck with me, like a song that you just can't get out of your head. And that game, my friends, is NieR Replicant version 1.22474487139. God, that's a mouthful, and I did it on the first take, let's go. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what it is that keeps me thinking about NieR, especially since I hadn't even touched a Yoko Taro game before. Well, I did technically buy Automata, but I didn't play much of it.
Nice.
So for now, let's just look at all the things that NieR Replicant has to offer, in the hopes of seeing what makes this game a modern classic. So, unsurprising to most, this version of NieR is an enhanced remaster of the PS3 game with the same name. Excluding the dumbass numbers though. Although, you probably wouldn't be able to tell that it's just a remaster, given how good it looks. Seriously, this is remake levels of quality. Countries outside of Japan didn't get this version of NieR when it first came out, so to non-Japanese players, it's a completely new experience. It also helps that the gameplay has received a complete revamp, especially since the original NieR was painfully bland in the gameplay department. Seriously, it feels like you're playing Dynasty Warriors with a controller covered in peanut butter whilst being on fire. Not the most comfortable position to be in, but hey, at least the music and story was good. Luckily for us, the remaster allows us to actually play a half-decent video game, rather than the aforementioned situation. Pushing the original to the side for now, let's actually talk about the gameplay. NieR doesn't feature an incredibly complex combat system by any means. It's pretty basic, all things considered, but I think it stands out as one of the game's strong points. Not every game needs to have an overly complex combat system in order to be enjoyable. Sometimes simple can be far more effective than meaningless complexity. Speaking of combat, let's actually talk about how it works. In Replicant, your offensive options are limited to having a basic attack combo, a strong attack combo, and various forms of magic. Now magic is where the game's combat truly shines through. Known as the sealed verses, magic in this game is just like the melee attacks. It's very basic, but the sheer amount of options makes it stand out from the basic attacks. The first batch of sealed verses you'll get is Dark Blast, Dark Lance, and Dark Hand. These are pretty much the basic kit that you'll keep on you for most of the game, due to how good they feel to use. Dark Blast is so simple that it'll end up as your most used verse in no time. Dark Hand is basically just Falcon Punch, and then Dark Lance is just the most satisfying thing ever. You charge it up for a bit and unleash a barrage of hard-hitting projectiles onto an enemy. There's obviously way more verses in the game, but for the sake of anyone who hasn't played this game yet, I'll try not to spoil all of them here. One problem I do have with the magic is that certain verses just feel either completely useless, or like they're necessary if you want the fight to be quick. Take Dark Gluttony for example. If the enemy doesn't have any magic, then it's completely useless. But if they do, they're fucking dead. It's not much of a problem, it does mean that you'll switch verses for specific enemies, which is good, but it can be a bit tedious. Honestly, this isn't even much of a complaint, so moving on. Moving around in NieR is probably the best part of the gameplay for me. It's hard to explain, but you move at just the right speed, and with a double jump that is so responsive it makes the original shit its pants, the game feels smooth as butter. I describe the whole game as butter, with you being a 10,000 degree knife that is just slashing through the whole thing in just the most satisfying way ever. Movement in NieR is
like a hot knife through butter!
You know, I just read that last part so I could use that clip. Don't know where else I could have put it, so just like me at family parties. It's there. Whilst the combat and overall movement of NieR Replicant isn't as complex as something like Automata is, I think we can safely say that it manages to be satisfying in its own simplistic and unique way. Now, I'm not someone who's qualified to talk about music. Hell, I'd even put Chase in my top 5 JoJo openings. So, for this section, I'll keep it brief. The music is good. Keiichi Okabe returns to recompose the original game's soundtrack. Now, the original NieR's music is best described as unique. The soundtrack has this rugged yet beautiful feel, with some amazing vocal work, that makes this one of my favourite soundtracks ever. And that's just the original. If you compare it to Replicant's remade soundtrack, then you can hear how each song has been reconstructed with redone vocals, which is amazing when you consider that this version of NieR is just a remaster of the original. They really didn't have to do this, but the fact they did shows just how much they cared. Here's a small sample of Kaine's theme, the original and then Replicant's version, so that way we can try to see what little changes they made. Isn't it just amazing how different yet similar they are? I think the best part of the vocals is how the lyrics are entirely made up in Kaine's theme, and the rest of the NieR soundtrack by extension. They follow no set language, they're just gibberish, with no real meaning. The vocals aren't used to convey meaning through words in NieR. They're used as an instrument to help complement the music, which is honestly a really creative and cool idea. As Replicant features some content that just didn't make it into the original, also, yeah, there's completely new content in this version. There are some completely new songs, such as Fleeting Word's Outsider. Here, take a listen. Without a doubt, NieR Replicant possesses one of the coolest video game soundtracks I have ever heard. And I basically have nothing else to say since I don't know music stuff. I kinda just used this section so I could play the music because it's banging, bro. It's just good. It's like really good. I'm keeping this section on like way too long, And this is part of this off script, and like, I should probably start ending it now. Yeah, let's end this section now, go to the next one. Here we are, the final section of my NieR review. Analysis? Look at? I don't know what to call it, but hey, you've made it this far, so clearly I've talked about something interesting in this video. Back to the topic at hand, however. NieR Replicant has one of the most masterfully created stories in all of gaming. It stands at the pinnacle of storytelling in gaming as a whole. I'd love to tell you all about it, because it's super good, but I also don't want to spoil it for those who have yet to play it. So for some nice middle ground, let's take a look at the game's opening cutscene. Actually, no. Let's go back just a bit before the opening cutscene. When you first start a save, you'll be greeted by an entry in a diary. December 22nd. The snow won't stop falling, so Darcy said he'd stay here with me until it stops. He'll probably leave again when it does, so I kinda hope it snows forever. Darcy is the name I entered for my character, by the way. You can enter a player name, so for the rest of this video, I'll just refer to it by what most fans refer to him as, NieR. It's interesting though. While this diary does show up in future loading screens, you'll only ever see this specific entry once per new file. It does an amazing job at introducing us to the most integral part of NieR's story, the connection between two people that kicks off the entire game. A connection that is defined by a desire for eternal snow to keep them together. An abandoned city, completely engulfed in snow, is the first thing we truly see in NieR. And as a singular piece of text reveals the year of the setting, the supposed apocalypse, we witness one of Yoko Taro's beautifully horrifying creations. Summer. Snow falling in summer. A season defined by its warmth is filled with freezing cold snow. It's so mystically bizarre and kinda creeped me out when I first saw it. The camera then pans to our protagonist NieR, a mysterious black book beckoning him to use its power. He rejects its request with a kick, pushing the book away. However, before he can enjoy the silence, he's attacked by shadowy creatures, known as Shades. After dispatching them, NieR rushes to check on his sickly sister Yona, the person who wrote the diary entry we read earlier. I love the short interactions in the opening. Just from a few words in a fucking loading screen, and a small interaction between the two, you can just feel how close they are. You can also tell that it's been a really long apocalypse for NieR. When he kicks the black book, you can just feel the annoyance from repetition. My man can't even sleep without the book pestering him. And it's funny, because annoyance is what I felt when I watched this scene for like the 17th time so I could write this section effectively. Anyway, more Shades pop in, and NieR is forced to either give up Yona or use the black book's power to protect her. And if you know NieR, you know that the one thing he will never give up is Yona. NieR fights back using the Black Book's magic, some of the sealed verses being given to us as the fight progresses. Once we take down the boss, NieR rushes back to check on Yona once more. And she has a cookie. Oh, what a nice little sister. And she touched the Black Book. Yona touched the book, wishing for power. Power that would keep her and her brother together forever. Yep, that stings. You've known her for like 10 minutes, and she's been ripped away from you. All you can do is sit and watch as NieR cries out for help. A mixture of despair and fear filling the air. The camera then returns to the city, as the opening draws to a close. But wait, there's more. After a short time skip, we see that the siblings are alright, and very different. No longer is the world a snow-covered wasteland, but instead the world is rebuilding after the apocalypse, being in an era akin to medieval times. Naturally, this is very confusing, and confused the hell out of me when I first watched it. You know, most people are probably dead after around 1,000 years, but these two aren't? NieR kind of leaves this in the back of your head for a while, and it won't be answered until the end of the game, so you kind of just need to remember this little mystery. So, for now, I think I'll leave the story section off here. I hope I did a good enough job at covering the opening with the least amount of spoilers for the entire plot as I could, since the opening has a shit ton of plot relevance. Knowing the complete story and reviewing the opening was truly a fun experience, so I hope that you too will come to appreciate the nuance that this opening provides in setting up the plot. This video took way longer to make than you could probably imagine. I've been trying to accumulate my thoughts on NieR into a video for around 4 months now, and it's oddly fitting that I finished this script in the final parts of 2021. NieR truly was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and I'm glad that I was able to have that experience. So, if you've made it to the end of this video as someone who hasn't yet played NieR Replicant, and you are intrigued by any of the aspects I've covered in this video, then I highly encourage you to go out and play it. You won't regret it. It'll be one of the best gaming experiences you ever have, ever. It's just phenomenal, and I love this game a lot, and I just really want more people to play it. I want more attention to come to this game, because it feels like for the past 4 months, it's really been a part of me, which is something really strange, and I don't know what I'm saying at this point. This is completely off script for the conclusion, but I feel like I should be saying it. With that out of the way, thank you for watching. This is obviously my first video ever, so there's lots of problems with it. Even when I was recording, I was like, oh, that doesn't sound about right. And yeah, I hope that in 2022 I can continue to make videos and that the quality of those videos will improve. So until next time, thanks for watching. Oh, and also don't forget to gently hit that subscribe button. People have been really getting violent with how they want you to subscribe nowadays, and I don't want to be violent, so like, just gently hit that subscribe button. Anyway, bye.